Hi, this is Logan, Dr. Tom's podcast producer. Sunday Morning Cafe events are like mini retreats, featuring live music, a thoughtful, research-informed talk, guided discussions, and refreshments. If you'd like tickets for the next event or would like to donate to the mission, you'll find all the details in the show notes and at sundaymorningcafe.com.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you? 30 shy 1%.
Well, hello and welcome to the Sunday Morning Cafe podcast. I'm Tom Wagner, and I'll be your host and narrator today. You may have gotten the word that my mom passed away here recently. In fact, it's true. We buried her over this past weekend, and many of you have offered me supportive comments as well as prayers for me and for my family. So thank you for that. You know, no death's easy, but of all the kinds of death, Mom's death was maybe the least painful. She was 93 years old. She had a full 10 years of dementia. Shakespeare referred to death as slipping free of our mortal coil. For my mom, slipping out of her mortal coil must have felt like the best jailbreak ever. It's true, I miss her. I'm going to miss taking her to Mass on Sundays and my sojourns up to Springfield, Illinois and back about 100 miles. Felt like a little bit of a pilgrimage, and she'd hold my hand and we'd both ooh and ah over little kids at church. There's a lot of blessing being with her, and so there's sadness, there is, but it's hard not to also feel glad that finally our prayers were answered for her mom to come and get her and let her be free of that wonky mortal coil of hers. Recently, I was listening to an old Carole King song. It occurred to me while I was listening to that just how intimate a song can be. It seems to me like that the best lyricists are making kind of a wager. Their wager is if they can plumb the depths of their own experience and then tell it with as much vulnerability and truth as possible, then it'll resonate like a well-played chord does in the depths of a guitar, except that it'll play deeply in the soul of their listeners. It's as if the bet is that their experience can be like a lens through which you can glimpse some dimension of your own experience. So I don't mean to compare myself with the likes of Carole King, but that's the wager I'm making this week as I share with you the comments I made at the beginning of my mom's funeral liturgy. It's my hope that you'll hear something in these words that I'll give to you this week that will make my mom a vehicle that takes you to your own experience of someone you love. As usual, thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Let me set the stage for you. So the setting for the words you're about to hear were spoken last Saturday morning in the Catholic Church of the Little Flower in Springfield, Illinois. Mom raised all of her 7 kids there and worshiped there herself for almost 70 years. She outlived all of her peers, so wouldn't you expect that it would not be a very well-attended funeral, but actually, a pretty healthy-sized crowd showed up. The warmth and responsiveness of the people in that crowd made my words feel more like sharing than giving a speech. So I gave that thing called a call to worship at the beginning of the service. Here's what I had to say. In an auctioneer's voice, I said, on behalf of Phil, Mary, Terry, Tom, Bob, Mike, and Dan, welcome to the celebration of Mom's life and her transition to the next one. I explained that I was her 4th born, smack in the middle of the pack, 3 older, 3 younger. I explained that my job is to provide a thing called a call to worship, which amounts to getting the spiritual train on the tracks at the beginning of the service to get things started. And now I'll give that talk to you as if you were in the room with me last Saturday. So here we go. Knowing Mom, there are 2 things she's noticing right now. The first one's kind of obvious. She's noticing you. Not this whole body of people gathered here. Instead, she's noticing you. Mary Pat and Barbie, the daughters of her oldest brother Jim, And knowing Mom, she's over the moon and can't believe her good fortune that you're here. She's also noticing you, Mary Denise and Kathy, the daughters of her other brother, Jack. I'm not saying that anyone here has to believe in purgatory, and I'm not saying that she's in purgatory. I'm just saying if she were, just seeing the two of you, Mary Denise and Kathy, just seeing you, just like that, she'd be in heaven. She's also noticing you, Jackie and Ari, the daughters of my dad's brother Jack, who came all the way from Portland and San Diego. At times like this, she'd be saying things like, I've got to pinch myself to make sure you're really here. And I could just keep saying name after name of people who are in this room until I'd said each one of your names. It's you she's noticing. If Mom were here in her body and fullness of mind, there is no way we could start this funeral on time. She'd have to come down and have a little party with each and every one of you. She'd be connecting, she'd be getting caught up, she'd be laughing hard with each one of you. That was Mom's nature. The second thing my mom is noticing here is something that's never happened in the history of the world until today. What's that thing, you might be wondering? For the first time ever, Mom's whole family made it to Mass on time. All of us. Which actually makes me want to talk directly to Mom. Mom, it looks like maybe your kids weren't the issue behind all that lateness over the years. I'm just saying. So, the spiritual tradition my mom raised us in, that is the Judeo-Christianity with a Catholic flavor to it, has a fundamental belief that we're all made in the image and likeness of God, with the presence of God pulsing out from the core of ourselves. We also believe that each human being is as unique and unrepeatable as a fingerprint. That means that each of us have the capacity to reveal a unique and unrepeatable dimension of God. So here at the beginning of this liturgy, we're invited to reflect upon the face of my mom as if it were a porthole into the kingdom of God. And we're to do that to see what's the kind of unique view of the divine we can catch through her. Another way to say this is that we're looking into the face of my mom to see what it uniquely reveals about the face of God. Do you remember seeing that movie, The Lion King? Remember that scene where Rafiki takes Simba on a walk and has him look into a reflective pool? You might remember that Rafiki guides him to look harder. What emerges for Simba when he looks harder in that reflection, that reflective pool, was something sacred, something that was actually a part of him. So that's what we're doing here this morning. We're looking into the reflective pool that is my mom's unique personhood, and we're being asked to look harder to see what unique dimension of God comes into view through Barb. As I look harder into Mom's face, it's likely that I won't see precisely what you see when you look harder at my mom. That's because each of you is made in the image and likeness of God, and you're totally unique. So you're likely to catch a dimension of Mom that I don't see. But here this morning, let me just share a couple of things I see when I look harder at Mom. You'd think that 10 years of dementia would sort of snuff out or put a bushel basket over the top of what's unique and most unique in my mom. But that's actually not what happened. In some ways, dementia was a winnowing fan that blew away what was inessential in Mom and left behind her distilled essence in its purest form. Let me share just two stories that gave me a glimpse into something that was always there with Mom in its most essential form. So I'm going back a couple of years ago, which were a full 8 years into my mom's dementia. I was sitting at a table with her dear friend and our family friend, Father Asla, and his caregiver, Mike Armstrong, was there. Father Asla and my mom shared the same memory care facility for the last 5 years together of their dementia. At one point, Mike Armstrong, my friend, says to them, You guys know that you two have been friends for over 50 years. Without missing a beat, my mom says, well, who said anything about us being friends? With that, Father Osla erupts into laughter, and Mom busts up laughing too. So did Mike and I. Right in the midst of her dementia, that bright light of her humor flashed out once again. That's Mom. Mom was always looking for a laugh around every corner. She was either perpetrating the humor or being the best audience for it. When my sister Mary was having a high school party and rain was ruining everything, she was going to have an outdoor party because we lived at the lake. Mom ran out and she bought an assortment of permanent markers, and she set everybody loose down in the basement to graffiti up our unfinished basement walls, which began a 20-plus year tradition of parties in that basement being enhanced with graffiti on those walls. I remember having to paint those years and years later when we sold the house. It took like 4 or 5 layers of that Kills paint. It's crazy. I also remember how my brother Phil had this knack. He would make Mom laugh so hard. In her obituary, a friend of hers was quoted as saying, Barb would have a little party with you whenever she saw you. Looking through the porthole that is my mom, what comes into view is a God who is always looking to have a little party with you. Through Mom, what comes into view is that the world is full of the laughter and humor of God. You know, there's suffering too, but that suffering never snuffs out the abundant laughter that's shot through all of reality. When I look harder, here's another thing that comes into focus. Just 2 months ago, I came to Mom's memory care facility for a visit. I found her at a lunch table with a couple of colleagues. One was sitting with her baby doll on her lap, and the other had a stuffed Curious George animal on her lap. And Mom was holding court. She was gesturing with an extended index finger. She was clearly making some kind of a point. She was nodding. She was smiling and laughing. Her colleagues were smiling along with her, and they were laughing and they were nodding as if there was something that they were picking up from what she was saying. And the fact is, not a word of what Mom was saying made any sense at all. Mom was doing what Mom's always done, what she was born to do. She was connecting with those women. They were connecting with her. The words didn't matter. Here at the beginning of this service, the invitation to you and me is to look harder. Don't be surprised if through the course of this liturgy, what comes into view through Mom is the laughing face of God. And maybe you'll be seeing it through the tears, but nonetheless, it will be the laughing face of God. Don't be surprised if you not only see a God wink looking back at you, but an invitation to have a God belly laugh. Today in this liturgy, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you met a God who just really wants to do nothing more than connect with you. And that's what matters, the connection, not so much the words at all. Let's, in the course of this liturgy, look harder together.
Dr. Tom's producer, Logan, here again with a quick note. If you'd like tickets for the next Sunday Morning Cafe event, or would like to donate to support the mission, you'll find all the details in the show notes and at sundaymorningcafe.com.